Hello, my name's Hazel,
And I'm Anna.
and we're both NHS Living Well coaches, and we help run the wellbeing service groups. So we put together this very short video clip to help you find out more about the psychological wellbeing group and some of the techniques we might cover in the group for supporting good psychological health. And we assume that you're here because you want to make changes in your physical and maybe your mental health. You might be feeling anxious or irritable or be experiencing low mood, or you may be responding negatively to stress. I think possibly we all are at the moment. Whatever's affecting your life and health at the moment, and you want to change those things. I'm not sure where this quote comes from, but it seems apt. If you can be in a good place, you can do the things you need to do in your life so much more easily.
Yes, and there's another famous quote from Ralph Emerson, which is, "Nothing can bring you peace but yourself." It sounds really easy, but in practice, it takes a lot of effort and persistence to achieve inner peace, particularly in our busy, stress-filled lives, and particularly during the lockdown. So sometimes we may be reacting to particular events or circumstances, and the Wellbeing Service also runs groups on loss, menopause, men's well-being, healthy choices, sleep, creativity for well-being, and a keeping on track program, which you may also find helpful. So we'll make a start. So on to the next slide, please, Hazel.
Okay.
Okay, so this may look like a bit of a picture round in a quiz if you've been doing lots of those online at the moment, but it's actually our usual icebreaker that we use in the group. And what we do is we allow people to choose a picture which they feel drawn to today, and it could represent something about their life. It could be a memory, a hobby, a job, an ambition, or your current mood. And then you can use it to introduce yourself to the group. So we thought we'd use it to introduce ourselves. So Hazel, would you like to choose a picture?
I will. I always opt for the mountains, partly because they represent such a lot. At the moment, obviously, I can't do the fell walking that I really love to do. So it can be partly about what I'm missing. But I think mountains are about challenging ourselves and overcoming limitations. Something about gaining clarity and perspective in our lives as a whole and focusing on what our priorities are.
Lovely. And so for me, I'm really drawn to the flower photo this year in particular. I've really enjoyed seeing the spring flowers blossom. It's a sort of reassuring sign of nature continuing its cycle. And we're fortunate enough to have a garden, and I've been spending quite a lot of time in my garden recently, and I found that to be relaxing and good for my well-being. So we'll move on to the next slide. So we thought you might want to think about what we mean by psychological well-being. What does it mean to you? So how are you today, and how do you feel at the moment? Do you have experience of good psychological well-being and poor psychological well-being? So from my own perspective, when I'm feeling good, I feel confident, I'm able to support others, my energy is high, and I get more things done like cooking, exercise, and that to-do list that we often all have. But when I'm feeling low or poor, my motivation kind of goes out the window. I'm not sure what to do with myself, and I can have real feelings of being anxious and worried as well.
I'd certainly agree with all of that, really. And I suppose because I've had periods of low mood, both reactive and cyclic, and I can get over anxious, although it's been a long time since I had a panic attack. I don't react very well to stress, although I am better now at trying to manage my own well-being. But you never need to rest on your laurels, I guess. But it's that thing sometimes about knowing when to ask for support too. And if you've come to this film, then you are asking for some kind of support in managing your psychological well-being. So well done. How does our psychological well-being impact on our wider well-being? Well, we've got the schematic of the hot cross bun, which shows how our psychological well-being affects our wider well-being and how we live our lives.
So we thought we'd take the example of how low mood can affect ourselves. And so we start off on this slide with looking at sort of some thoughts. And when we have low mood, sometimes we can have negative thoughts about ourselves or a situation. And our thoughts can often have a negative bias. So we're seeing the sort of negative side of things or thinking negatively. And so if we have a look on to the next slide and how that affects our behaviour. So when we're having negative thoughts, our behaviour can change and we may start avoiding things, avoiding our routine, avoiding our hobbies. Normally our hobbies and the things that give us pleasure are actually the first thing that drops off when we feel low. So our motivation for self-care can also be low. And if we move on to the next slide, if we look at when we're feeling low, we may be more aware of our body and sensations that we have. We may be tearful, we may feel tired. Our appetite can change. So some people may find they're eating more, some comfort eating comes in, or actually you might feel complete loss of appetite and can't face food. And then linked to that, our emotions, we may feel low mood, sadness, and anxiety. So you can see that these are all interlinked.
So if we move on to what doesn't help, what makes things worse, if we revisit Ralph Waldo Emerson, nothing can bring you peace but yourself. You can see from the cyclic nature of this that what we do because of how we feel and think are really, really direct. And often we will feel less likely to be motivated to do the things that benefit our well-being generally. So the downward spiral is reinforced.
So you're here because we want to feel better. And what does help make things better? So this slide shows some of the examples that either myself or Hazel or people that have attended our groups in the past have said helps make them feel better.
So we might have strategies that involve mindfulness and mindful or creative practices, maybe small amounts of regular activity, walking, running, jogging, tai chi, yoga, connection with others and social activity, challenging negative thoughts as well. That can be really helpful. So if we move on to what the barriers are, well, often we know what will help, but we can't necessarily put it into practice. So what sort of things get in the way of us always being able to do the things that we know will help? Well, it can be lethargy for a start. It's always hard to get going when you feel lethargic, or it might be lack of money, lack of suitable opportunities. Could be circumstances. You may have caring responsibilities that curtail your freedom to choose things. It might be fear. You've maybe never tried it before, and what if I can't do it? Or it could be social anxiety, if you want to access social, like group activities, but find it difficult. So what can we do to help work through these barriers, Anna?
So one of the common things is looking at, like, I don't have time to look after myself. So it's really important to recognise how important it is to look after yourself and prioritise that time for self-care and allocate some time to do things that will improve your well-being. Sometimes there are things that are available that are free or easy to access, so it doesn't always have to be expensive. And one thing that's really good is if you're a little bit anxious about going, are you able to ask a friend to come along to something with you if you want to try something new? And having that support and encouragement from them will be a great support to yourself. It can also be helpful to keep a mood diary for a couple of days, or you could maybe try and complete that sort of hot cross bun diagram for yourself. So you start recognizing when you're getting into that cycle of sort of negative behavior, and switch over into focusing on those positive well-being activities instead.
So, mindful or mindful? We've got a picture here on the screen of the busy mind chock full of lots of thoughts, and then the dog's very mindful with just what's in front of it, very much in the present. So we thought we could try and go through just a very, very brief body scan, just to give you an idea of how it can feel. Now, not everyone connects to concentrating on the breathing as an anchor. Not everybody likes the body scan as useful ways of exploring mindfulness, but there are alternatives. So if this doesn't work for you, then sometimes relaxation techniques or visualizations can be more helpful. A way of kind of focusing the mind to control washing machine thought tendencies. You can do walking mindfully if it's slow, or even sometimes if it's not slow, it's going to achieve a similar thing if you concentrate on being present and observing everything. Or it could be colouring, sewing, cooking. Anything can be done mindfully if you give it your full attention. And I think that was actually your bit, Anna. I'm really sorry about that. But
that's okay.
The body scan.
Would you like to do the body scan?
Okay. So if we just sit comfortably back as straight as you possibly can. If you feel comfortable closing your eyes, then do so. A nice big breath just in and out, and release everything on the out breath. Think of relaxing your body. You may want to start at the crown of your scalp, work your way down your scalp, down your face, down your neck, down to your shoulders. Just feel everything relaxing. Move down to your elbows and your wrists and your hands, into your fingers. Just feel everything relaxing. Move down your trunk, down to your thighs. Just feel everything relaxing. Down through your knees, down through your calves. Relax everything as you focus your attention on your ankles and down to your feet. When you get to your feet, you might like to think of some energy coming up to your feet. Think of the energy as a colour, if that helps, and re-energize yourself, connecting to the energy coming up through your feet, going up your legs, up your ankles, to your knees, to your thighs, just where everything was relaxed. Just let it accept the reinvigorating energy, up your trunk, up to your shoulders, up to your scalp. Nice easy breath or two, and when you're ready, come back to the room and open your eyes. Okay, how was that?
That was lovely. And I think if you find the body scan difficult, maybe just focusing on a simple breathing exercise can be very helpful, especially if we feel stressed or anxious. You may find your breathing gets quicker and shallower. So if you just take a deep inhale and follow that by a full exhale, and you repeat that several times, it can help reduce stress immediately, and something you can do at moments of overwhelm. So what we find is that either the body scan or breathing exercises, the techniques can go out of the window when you're stressed. So it's actually quite good to practice them regularly, so the easier they become when you use them, when you feel you need them. So if we move on to our last slide.
Okay, thank you.
So what we'd like to do now is just thank you for watching this psychological wellbeing group video. Our groups are open to all, including a Keeping on Track session for those who've attended any of our other groups.
And if you have any questions, comments, or you'd like to book onto a group, please contact the team. Details are on our slide. Okay, thank you very much. So
thank you.
Thank you.